Welcome to an incredible journey into the Book of Ruth. Have you ever wondered how a simple story of loyalty and love could shape history and reveal the heart of God? Why is Ruth, a Moabite woman, such a pivotal figure in the Bible? And what can her story teach us about faith today? Stay with us, and by the end of this video, you'll discover profound truths about redemption, divine providence, and how Ruth's legacy points to Jesus. The Book of Ruth is a beautifully written story found in the Old Testament. Though its author is not explicitly named, it is traditionally attributed to the prophet Samuel. The events in Ruth take place during the time of the Judges, roughly between 1200 and 1020 BC, a period marked by instability and moral decline. This short book, just 4 chapters long, centers on the lives of 3 main characters, Naomi, Ruth, and Boaz. At its heart, it is a story of loyalty, redemption, and God's providence. Despite its brevity, the Book of Ruth holds deep theological significance, showing how God works through ordinary people to fulfill extraordinary plans. How does Ruth's story connect to God's greater plan? And how does her faithfulness inspire us today? Let's explore. Chapter 1. Ruth's devotion and the journey to Bethlehem. The book opens with a tragic backdrop. During a famine in Israel, Elimelech and his wife Naomi, along with their 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion, leave Bethlehem for Moab in search of a better life. However, tragedy strikes. Elimelech dies, and later, both of Naomi's sons also pass away, leaving Naomi and her daughters-in-law, Ruth and Orpah, as widows. Naomi hears that the famine in Bethlehem has ended and decides to return home. She urges Orpah and Ruth to stay in Moab, remarry, and build new lives. Orpah agrees after some persuasion, but Ruth clings to Naomi, expressing a deep and famous commitment. "Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God." Ruth 1:16. This moment highlights Ruth's selfless love and her faith in Naomi's God, despite being a Moabite. Together they journey to Bethlehem, where Naomi asks to be called Mara, meaning bitter, because of her grief. The takeaway is that Ruth's decision to stay with Naomi shows extraordinary loyalty, even when it meant leaving her own family and homeland. Her faithfulness mirrors God's unwavering love for his people. Chapter 2. Ruth gleans in Boaz's field in Bethlehem. Ruth takes the initiative to care for Naomi by gleaning leftover grain from the fields, a provision in Israelite law for the poor and widows. Leviticus 19:9 through 10. Unknowingly, Ruth works in a field belonging to Boaz, a wealthy and influential man who is also a relative of Elimelech. Boaz notices Ruth and inquires about her. Learning of her loyalty to Naomi, he shows kindness to Ruth, instructing his workers to leave extra grain for her and inviting her to eat with them. He praises her for seeking refuge under the wings of the God of Israel. "May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." Ruth 2:12. When Ruth returns home with an abundance of grain, Naomi is overjoyed. She recognizes Boaz as a close relative, a potential kinsman-redeemer, someone who can protect their family's lineage by marrying Ruth and redeeming their land. The takeaway is that God's providence is evident as Ruth happens to glean in Boaz's field. This chapter reminds us that there are no coincidences in God's plans. He often uses ordinary acts, like Ruth's hard work, to accomplish extraordinary purposes. Chapter 3. Ruth seeks redemption at the threshing floor. At Naomi's urging, Ruth takes a bold step. Naomi advises her to approach Boaz at the threshing floor, where he is winnowing barley, a common practice during harvest. Ruth follows Naomi's instructions carefully. After Boaz has eaten and fallen asleep, she uncovers his feet and lies down. This symbolic act is not romantic, but a request for Boaz to act as her kinsman-redeemer. When Boaz wakes and finds Ruth at his feet, she respectfully asks him to spread the corner of his garment over her, signifying protection and commitment. Boaz is moved by her integrity, praising her for not seeking younger, wealthier men. He promises to take on the role of redeemer, provided a closer relative declines the responsibility. "The Lord bless you, my daughter," he said. "This kindness is greater than that which you showed earlier. I will do for you all you ask." Ruth 3:10-11. This scene is a pivotal moment, showcasing Ruth's courage and trust in both Naomi's guidance and Boaz's character. The takeaway is that Ruth's boldness, paired with Boaz's righteousness, illustrates the beauty of mutual respect and godly love. This chapter also points to Jesus, our ultimate Redeemer, who covers us with His grace. Chapter 4. Boaz redeems Ruth. Boaz goes to the town gate where legal matters were handled and meets the closer relative. He explains the situation. Naomi is selling her late husband's land, and redeeming it would also involve marrying Ruth to preserve the family's name. The closer relative declines, concerned it would jeopardize his own inheritance. Boaz joyfully steps in, publicly declaring his intention to redeem the land and marry Ruth. This act secures Ruth and Naomi's future and demonstrates Boaz's faithfulness to both God's law and his own character. "Today you are witnesses that I have bought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech. I have also acquired Ruth the Moabite, Mahlon's widow, as my wife, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property." Ruth 4:9-10. Boaz and Ruth marry, and God blesses them with a son, Obed. The women of Bethlehem celebrate with Naomi, who holds her grandson, rejoicing in the restoration of her family. Obed becomes the grandfather of King David, directly linking Ruth to the lineage of Jesus Christ. The takeaway is that this final chapter beautifully ties together the themes of redemption, restoration, and God's sovereign plan. Ruth's inclusion in Jesus' genealogy is a testament to God's love for all people, regardless of nationality or background. Some key questions. 1. What is the significance of the relationship between Ruth and Naomi? The relationship between Ruth and Naomi is a profound example of loyalty, love, and selflessness. Ruth's commitment to Naomi goes beyond familial obligation. It reflects her faith in God and her willingness to embrace Naomi's people and faith as her own. Ruth's famous declaration, "Your people will be my people, and your God my God," signifies a deep spiritual and emotional bond. For Naomi, Ruth represents hope and companionship during her darkest moments of grief and loss. Together, they demonstrate how mutual support and trust in God can bring healing and restoration. Their relationship reminds us of the importance of standing by loved ones during difficult times, even when the path ahead is uncertain. The takeaway is that Ruth and Naomi's bond mirrors the steadfast love God has for His people. It inspires us to show loyalty, compassion, and faithfulness in our relationships. 2. What does the Book of Ruth teach us about God's providence and redemption? The Book of Ruth is a powerful testament to God's unseen hand at work in every detail of life. From the famine that brought Naomi's family to Moab, to Ruth's decision to stay with Naomi, to her happening upon Boaz's field, we see how God orchestrates events to fulfill His greater plan. The concept of the kinsman-redeemer foreshadows the ultimate redemption found in Jesus Christ. Boaz's willingness to redeem Ruth and Naomi's family line demonstrates God's care for His people and His desire to restore what is lost. The story reminds us that no situation is too broken for God to redeem. The takeaway is that God's providence is evident, even in the smallest moments. He uses ordinary people and situations to bring about His extraordinary purposes, offering hope and redemption to all who trust in Him. 3. How does the Book of Ruth illustrate God's love for all people? Ruth was a Moabite, a foreigner, and yet she becomes a central figure in the lineage of Jesus Christ. This inclusion underscores the universal nature of God's love. While Israel was God's chosen nation, Ruth's story shows that his blessings and redemption extend to all who seek him, regardless of nationality, race, or background. By welcoming Ruth into his covenant community, God demonstrates that faith, not ethnicity, is what draws people into his family. This theme echoes throughout the Bible, culminating in the New Testament message that salvation through Jesus is available to all people. The takeaway is that Ruth's story reminds us that God's love is inclusive, breaking down barriers of race, culture, and status. It's an invitation for everyone to find a place in his family through faith. 4. How does Ruth's courage and faith inspire us today? Ruth's story is one of remarkable courage and trust in God. She leaves her homeland, her family, and her culture behind to support Naomi and follow the God of Israel. Despite facing uncertainty and poverty, Ruth works tirelessly to provide for Naomi, trusting that God will make a way. Her boldness in approaching Boaz at the threshing floor, while risky, shows her determination and faith in Naomi's guidance and God's provision. Ruth's courage encourages us to step out in faith, even when the future is unclear, knowing that God is with us. The takeaway is that Ruth's courage inspires us to take bold steps of faith, trusting that God will guide and provide for us in every situation. 5. What lessons can married couples learn from Ruth and Boaz? The relationship between Ruth and Boaz is a beautiful example of mutual respect, kindness, and integrity. Boaz admires Ruth's character and selflessness, while Ruth respects Boaz's righteousness and generosity. Their relationship is built on trust, honesty, and a shared faith in God. Boaz's actions demonstrate the importance of protecting and providing for one's partner, while Ruth's humility and courage reflect the qualities of a supportive and loving spouse. Together, they show that a strong relationship is rooted in God's principles and a desire to honor Him. The takeaway is that Ruth and Boaz's story teaches couples to build their relationships on faith, mutual respect, and a commitment to doing what is right before God. 6. What does the story of Ruth reveal about God's provision during difficult times? The story of Ruth is a powerful reminder that God provides for His people, even in the most challenging circumstances. Despite Naomi's initial bitterness and feelings of abandonment, God's provision becomes evident through Ruth's loyalty, Boaz's kindness, and the restoration of their family line. From the fields of Boaz to the birth of Obed, we see how God meets both immediate and long-term needs. He provides food, security, and a future for Ruth and Naomi, turning their sorrow into joy. This reminds us that God is always working behind the scenes, even when we cannot see it. The takeaway is that God's provision is faithful and abundant. He cares for His people in both their physical and spiritual needs, offering hope and restoration during life's hardest moments. In summary, the Book of Ruth is a timeless story of loyalty, faith, and redemption. It reminds us that God can use anyone to accomplish His purposes, no matter their background or circumstances. So, what has the story of Ruth taught you? How does this journey of faith relate to your life? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found something meaningful today, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. See you in the next video.